welcome back to my channel. So sorry it took so long to get to Opera Rose. Long story short, I am a book author, if you did not know that, and I've been working on my books, and I got caught up on book 1, 2, and I'm now just finishing up 3, but I am back. We are doing Opera Rose today. There are only 14 because not a lot of brands have something named Opera Rose. Remember, we're going off the name, not the pigment, because if we went off the pigment, PR 122 is quite popular with Opera Rose, but that might be a familiar pigment number to you because it goes in a lot of pinks. A lot of quinacridone magentas are just PR 122, so keep that in mind. A quick thank you to those who have supported me through Ko-fi to help pay for these. I really appreciate it. To those of you who have gotten on my Etsy store and bought the fat dot cards, we were doing quarter pans, now we're just doing the fat dots. It's the same amount, if not more, than the quarter pans. Now, make sure you watch to the end because there is a giveaway. So let's get started, and yep. Okay, so first off is Shinhan's Opera. It's BR1. Now, I'm going to talk about this one for a little bit here. So BR1 is actually Basic Red 1 dye. It's a very specific organic dye pigment known for more of a reddish yellow and fluorescent, obviously, properties. So keep it in mind when you ever see BR1. Okay, so now let's do our wet on wet. Now, good news, guys. Ooh, hello there. I already have all the yellow ochres, so yellow ochre will be coming faster than you had to wait for this. Okay, so now we have Daniel Smith Opera Pink. I had accidentally written rose, but you guys knew what I meant, right? Now this is a PR 122. Okay, we are on Michael Harding, which is Opera Rose. I might need to get that a little more wet. This is a PR 122. I really wasn't a Michael Harding person until I started doing these comparisons. And it's nothing against the brand. I mean, it's pricey, but that wasn't the reason. Well, I stayed away from it because it's pricey, but I don't have anything against their quality. All right, now we have Da Vinci. It's actually called Opus Vivid Pink, but it is their version of Opera Rose. So some of these, like I said, you'll notice, oh, I got a loose bristle. The name isn't quite Opera Rose, but I made the executive decision to include them because they were technically that brand's version. Okay, so now we have Sennelier's Opera Rose, which is PR 81-1. This is a fluorescent pink pigment. It's often combined with PR 122. In this case, they did not. However, you need to know that this is a fugitive color, and it's very poor light fastness. So, I mean, with Opera Rose anyways, it's kind of one of those colors, but it's surprising for such an expensive brand that they would choose that pigment. That said, this pigment is very pretty. I wouldn't say it is as bright as the others, but we'll see when it dries. Okay, here's a color most of you will know, Winsor & Newton Pro, PR 122, Opera Rose. In fact, this was the first Opera Rose I had ever used, and not Daniel Smith. Okay, so this one we may end up excluding. It's Van Gogh's Rose, but as you can see, it's PR 122, but it is not fluorescent. And there was like mixed debates on some art threads I went on about this one, and there was people that were like, no, it's definitely fluorescent. I'm not seeing it, but let's see how it lightens up after we do a wet on wet application, and of course it dries. Worst case, we'll just call this 13.5 colors. Okay, now we have Holbein Opera. Now this has BB10 and PR122. BB10 is Basic Violet 10 dye. It is not very light fast though, but you're going to find this with most of the Opera Rose color line of any brand, so keep that in mind. But if you see BV10, you'll know what that is. It is a fluorescent dye though. It's specifically made to give you, well, that. Now I know the Holbein Opera Rose is definitely a popular one. That's one I like as well. Okay, we're on to Mission Gold's Bright Opera. We actually have two Mission Golds. Holy cow, that's bright. BV10 and PR122. Wow, is that the brightest one? Goodness, I'm gonna go blind after this one. But yeah, we do have two because, like I said, I went to a lot of art boards, talked to a few others. There was a lot of debates on the two from Mission Gold. So we'll see for ourselves. Now we have Schminke Brilliant Opera Rose, which is PR122. It's very pretty. Make sure you stay tuned. I have some, ooh, I like the way that moves, info and a giveaway at the end of this one. Now we have Azzaro's Rose Azzaro. There was some debate on this one because for me, I would call this quinacridone magenta. But again, there was some debate, so I thought we would throw it in and just see if it could come out close. But so far, I would say no. Yeah, I would definitely go quinacridone rose, quinacridone magenta, not opera. Now, this is the only one in a pan. It's Rosa Gallery, PR122, and there's his opera rose. I've actually never used this brand until today, so we will see. All right, so this is Jackson's Opera Rose. It is fugitive, as are most. PB19 and PR81-1. It's actually very pretty. Okay, last is Mission Gold's Compose Opera, PB19, PW6, which makes me worried, and PR122. It's definitely more of a red. But let's see. I mean, you can see that pink in there. It's actually not bad when it goes wet on wet and it's not fully like concentrated. It's got some brightness. Opera Rose brightness, we'll see. So what I'm going to do is dry these with my handy dandy little dryer tool. If you don't have one of these, it's a little heated tool. I'll link it below. I highly recommend it for watercolor. It does not blow the paint around. It just provides you with some heat. Okay, so let's talk about our Opera Rose adventure. Like I said, we had 13 colors, but there was one of those big kind of 13 if, sort of, maybe. And I am most definitely going to disagree with some of those threads. Can't believe everything you read on the internet, right? This one here, the rose, is just not going to work for an Opera Rose. So we are going to cross that one out. Same thing with Rose Azzaro. It does have a brightness to it, but it is not an Opera Rose brightness. So I'm going to X that one as well. I'm torn on this one. Like I said, there was a lot of Reddit and art forum debates on if this should be considered an opera rose, because they do have one called Bright Opera, which, hello, is the brightest one here. Can you see that? That thing is like freaking neon. Then again, they did use BV10, so they got what they aimed for. So we're gonna just do a question mark on this little guy. And you know what? If you want to compare it as an opera rose, you can, but that would be what? 11 to 12-ish colors now. There. So there's not a ton of opera rose out there. It was quite the feat to like hunt them down. I had to go between Jackson's, Cheap Joe's, because Cheap Joe's only carried one of the brands I needed. Oh, that was horrible. And then, of course, you know, Blick and whatnot. But let's talk about the opera roses that are opera rose. You know, I'm not going to lie, Sennelier's is very purple leaning. You know, it's not what I would pick as opera rose. The ones that stand out to me as traditional, like actual opera rose are Shinhan's, Daniel Smith, Winsor and Newton for sure, Hello Holbein, Mission Gold, Schminkas. The others, like so Michael Harding, Da Vinci, Rosa Galleries, and Jackson, they just kind of linger a little behind, but they don't have the fluorescent properties. That said, these guys are you know, using PR 122. So are this one though. But this is going to be better for lightfast than anything mixed with, say, PR 811, because this is a fugitive color. So you have to keep that in mind. And because it's not even really matching up with what you would expect from opera rose, if you're going for a real traditional opera rose and you want at least somewhat of a good lightfast rating, you can definitely go for the PR 122, but what you need to keep in mind is any opera rose that's using a vibrant pink, such as PR 122, which is, PR 122 is actually labeled quinacridone magenta, which is why I said if I were to sit and do quinacridone magenta, technically all of these paints could be in that comparison if they were just PR 122. Could you imagine if I did just a PR 122? I would need like 5 sheets because, I mean, look at the range you would end up getting. And then I would have to organize them by the range. No, we're not doing that. We're doing the names right now. So yeah, keep that in mind. This is going to be fugitive. Even Schminkas. Where'd you go, Schminka? There you are. Schminkas here is fugitive, and they even let you know, pretty much any of these brands will let you know that these are fugitive, so keep that in mind. You have fluorescence, you're fugitive. But if you're not doing commission work, you know, it's not a big deal, your paint's not going to sit under gallery lighting. You pick a color that makes you happy. If you want to do hot pink roses with Mission Gold's Bright Opera, because that is the brightest opera pink in the world, then you do you and just have fun. But just keep that in mind when you're considering these. So yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one that is truly like an opera rose that I would like to use, I couldn't use this one because it's so bright it would kill me. I would probably be between the Opera Rose from Winsor & Newton, because I really like the way it comes out there. And, you know, honestly, probably Daniel Smith. I do like Shinhan's, but I think I like Daniel Smith's more. Holbein is really pretty too. I like how it's just a touch darker as well. So yeah, that is something you'll have to just decide for yourself. But you made it this far, which is a good thing, because I accidentally bought another Opera Rose Sennelier, which is this little guy here. I bought 2 because I forgot I already owned one. So one of you lucky winners, unfortunately you must be here in the US because shipping is a nightmare, unless you're willing to pay for shipping overseas. If you're willing to pay for me to ship this little itty bitty tube overseas, then if you're the winner, that's fine. But plan on paying anywhere from $18 to $22 for me to ship one lonely tube. Okay. But one lucky winner will get this. If they're in the US, you don't have to pay shipping. You'll get a tube of the Sennelier. It's a 10 ml, brand new, given to you because of my oopsie. Now, all of these will be put into my Opera Rose category on my Etsy store. Like I said, we're doing the fat dots, as I call them. They are more than what you would get in a quarter pan. Quarter pans just got tedious to fill. And then there was, you know, a lot of sinkage. They didn't dry up right. And then I thought, you know what would be fun is just a big fat dot card. I will be changing these dot cards soon. I'm actually going to put it on a piece of parchment, glue the parchment down. So when you pull the parchment piece off, you can actually just flick this right off into your pan. Wet your pan, stick it in your pan, and it'll just go straight in your pan like you had put a dollop of it straight from the tube. That said, this dot card here will still last you quite a long time. It's thick, and like I said, it's more than what you would get in a quarter pan. So these are on my store. I have them by brand or by color. So I will be now listing the Opera Rose ones because we have finished that. However, I'm only going to list the ones that are Opera Rose after this little comparison. So these little guys won't be in there, but they'll be under their brands. And I want to do a special thank you to everyone who's been watching and helping and supporting, and the kind comments, because this does take a long time to do. Not just like finding all the supplies, which, you know, we all know isn't cheap, but just creating these videos. And I appreciate it tremendously. I don't mind feedback as long as you guys provide it in a kind way. There's always a nice way to provide feedback, so there's no need to get snarky. But I will be deleting the snarky comments like I had to on the last one, and that is one reason I sort of wasn't as enthusiastic. I was like, you know, I'm going to work on my books and not this, which sucked because I really wanted to get this done. But the comments from my last one, I had to delete quite a few very toxic comments because I had asked for donations. And when I ask for donations, it's not me being money hungry. You can add this up yourself. Just go online and you would know how much just these cost. Yellow ochre, by the way, I have already purchased all of yellow ochre. It is over 20 colors. So that's going to be another huge one like we did with indigo. I'm going to try and do that. I'm trying to do these once to twice a month, and then I'll just do little things in between. But like I said, they do take time, but the more you can support, the better. And the best way you can support, honestly, is buying the dot cards, because then you get something. You're not just giving me money. You can go on my Etsy and get the colors that you want to try. Any of these colors will be on there. But more importantly, giveaway person. There will be a Google form in the link below. The giveaway rules, I'm giving them here, but they'll also be listed in the Google form. You must be a current subscriber of my channel. You must be over the age of 18. You must be in the US and or be willing to pay for shipping internationally. You will need to check on Etsy if you can receive a package from them, because that's likely what I'll do is set up a custom cart and ship it through Etsy to save some hassle. But we'll figure that out at another time. And then just know that this is not sponsored by Sennelier. I am the one that will be supplying this little tube of watercolor to you as a giveaway. And I will let the giveaway run until the 28th of the month, and then I will pick a winner. So you'll need to make sure you fill out the form, because that'll give me your YouTube handle, your email address, and all that. And then your official entry, sadly, is not the form. The form is the only way to contact you. Your official entry is to just put in the comments which one from here is your favorite, which one you use yourself, and or which one you now are going to buy because you've seen it in the comparison. Perhaps Holbein was your go-to, but now that you've seen this crazy little thing here, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to buy it. So that's all. You just have to leave a comment either saying your favorite, one that you use, or one you're going to switch to because of this. It's pretty much a comment you would leave anyways. So that's the only requirement. All right, thanks so much for hanging out with me for another comparison. Like I said, get ready for the chaos that is yellow ochre, because they are all here and ready to go, and it is going to be a lot. So until next time, everyone, take care. Bye now.